जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन 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 यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे जय जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद श्रीला प्रभुपाद जय हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। वांछाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Hare Krishna. We are very happy to have the association of His Grace Mahabhagavat Prabhu. Srimad Mahabhagavat Prabhu will speak on Mahabhagavat Purana here. So Prabhuji has been born and brought up in a Madhva Vaishnava Brahmin family. And in the early stages of life as an adult, he was not much inclined toward spirituality. He was almost subscribing to atheism. But guided by the books and followers of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he gradually embraced Bhakti in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So he is a living proof of how Srila Prabhupada teachings are so highly effective in transforming the hearts of people. Initially, he was reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, as a critic, but he found profound inspiration and then studied it for over 20 years. In 2004, he met his spiritual master, His Grace Sriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhuji. And after years of discourses and conversations, questions, answers, finally he was initiated in 2011 at ISKCON Austin. And further in 2013, he received the Brahmin initiation. So he teaches from scriptures such as Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, adapting his approach to diverse audiences. He is fluent in multiple languages, but primarily he teaches in English. He has a background of being an electrical and electronics engineer, and he further pursued postgraduate studies in software technology. And later he also pursued a PhD, doctorate in machine learning, but finally left it all to focus on Bhakti. So currently he is a chief technological officer at an insurance company based at Toronto. He is dedicated to Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, teaching, mentoring, deity worship, temple services, and he serves at ISKCON Toronto with his wife and son. And he considers himself a recovering atheist, trying to become a true devotee of Krishna. So it's our good fortune that once a year or so we get his association. He's very determined, very dedicated. He has taken a vow of distributing, how much? 1 lakh?
Minimum. 1 lakh minimum.
Minimum 1 lakh Bhagavad Gitas of Srila Prabhupada in this lifetime. All alone.
No, not
And
alone.
so far, how much you have achieved?
About sitting at about 10,000 plus.
10,000 are done.
Yeah.
90,000 to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So already distributed around 10,000 plus Bhagavad Gitas because Bhagavad Gita transformed him. So he want to, be a transforming agent for many by giving Bhagavad Gita to many devotees and people who need it. So very fortunate to have him here, to get to hear from him. Let us welcome him at Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Temple by once loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Revatipati Prabhu, and this wonderful community of many moons. Thank you very much. I'm very inspired coming to these temples because in the Western countries, it's a little bit austere. And distributing books in India is very, very ecstatic. And going out on Harinam Sankirtan is very ecstatic. And being with all of you devotees is very, very ecstatic. So I'm very grateful to be here. I'm begging for blessings from all my elders, both in service as well as seniority in many ways. And I pray that something of value can be said here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayaveshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishthiki. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 10, verse number 2. 7.10.2. 10.2. So if you have 10.2, so if you have Vedabase, you can do it, but the devotees are kindly showing it on the screen. So if you're here, you can also look at the screen there. Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Vaishnavis. Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobhayotpatya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsangabhito Nirvinno Mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam pralobhayotpatya saktam kameshu tairvarai tatsangabhito nirvinno mumukshustvam Shri Prahlad Uvacha. Prahlad Maharaj said to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ma, please do not, Mam, me, Pralobhaya, allure, Utpatya, because of my birth in a demoniac family. Saktam, I am already attached. Kameshu, to material enjoyment. Tai, by all those. Varai, benedictions of material possessions. Tatsanga bhitaha, being afraid of such material association. Nirvinnaha, completely detached from material desires. Mumukshuhu, desiring to be liberated from material conditions of life. Tvam, unto your lotus feet. Upashritaha, I have taken shelter. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Please also repeat the translation. Prahlad Maharaj said, My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Materialistic life means attachment to the body and everything in relationship to the body. This attachment is based on lusty desires for sense gratification, specifically sexual enjoyment. When one is too attached to material enjoyment, he is bereft of all knowledge. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, those who are attached to material enjoyment are mostly inclined to worship the demigods to procure various material opulences. They are especially attached to the worship of the goddess Durga and Lord Shiva, because this transcendental couple can offer their devotees all material opulence. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was detached from all material enjoyment. He therefore took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimhadeva and not the feet of any demigod. It is to be understood that if one really wants release from this material world, from the threefold miseries and from Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, birth, death, old age and disease, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I will repeat that phrase. It is to be understood that if one really wants release from this material world, from the threefold miseries and from Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, birth, death, old age and disease, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For without the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot get release from materialistic life. Atheistic men are very much attached to materialistic enjoyment. Therefore, if they get some opportunity to achieve more and more material enjoyment, they take it. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was very careful in this regard. Although born of a materialistic father, because he was a devotee, he had no material desires. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Barijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री प्रह्लाद उवाच मां प्रलोभयत् योत्पत्त्यासक्तं कामेषु तैर्वरैः तत्संगभीतो निर्विण्णो मुमुक्षुस्त्वामुपाश्रितः। Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. So, when I was reading this verse, some things stood out. So we'll discuss those and then we'll talk about how this applies to us. And then if there's some time, then we'll look at questions, reflections, comments, etc. The first thing that Prahlad Maharaj says is he says that he is born in an atheistic family. So if we reflect on that, we may think, okay, my parents are devout, my brother is a brahmachari, etc. And we may think that I'm not born in an atheistic family. But actually speaking, only the pure devotee is not atheistic to some extent. So if somebody is not a pure devotee, then one must understand that there's some atheistic influence on us. The whole world is actually atheistic. Our whole education system, we spent 20 plus years in the education system learning how to be an atheist. Is it any wonder? So, if we are not in a family of pure devotees, every single person is as illustrious as our spiritual masters, then we should understand that there's some tinge of atheism, however big it might be. It might be a small tinge, or it may be a big stroke of paint, or it might be, the whole thing might be atheistic. So we should understand that. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is actually giving us instruction that even if there's a tinge of atheism in the family, then we should understand that that is a contamination that we carry in our heart. And then we see that Nrsimhadeva in the previous chapter is giving Prahlad some benedictions, and Prahlad is taking those benedictions as a potential risk that there may be more illusory attractions coming my way. So, actually speaking, our spiritual masters say, Srila Prabhupada says, or all of our spiritual masters say that Lord gives the devotee whatever they want. Whatever they want. And if we want some distractions, then the Lord will give us those distractions, no doubt. And the distractions can come in the form of some fruits of bhakti, but there can be some other kinds of fruits that we might get based on our actual desire. Because ye yathamam prapadyante tam sathave bhajamyam. So the Lord reciprocates, except with the gopis where he expresses his inability. Everybody else he reciprocates according to whatever they want. So bhakti is very rare for a person to get bhakti. There are many distractions along the way, as we see from the life of Gopa Kumar. He was chanting his mantra and he landed up in a certain place where he became a king. Then he's chanting his mantra and he landed up in a certain place where he became the king of heaven. Then he was chanting his mantra where there was worship of the Lord in awe and reverence and so on and so forth. And in many places, he felt tempted to stay. In fact, he was very much invited, very much gladly invited by those great personalities to come and please stay, associate with us. They wanted the association of Gopa Kumar. But then Gopa Kumar said, no, this mantra has something more. And he kept chanting his mantra, kept chanting his mantra, kept chanting his mantra until he reached the lotus feet of his Lord in Vrindavan. So, Bhakti is rare because Bhakti is extremely powerful and pure love, Prema Bhakti especially, controls the Lord. You know, we are singing every day. Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. And then Yeshoda Bhiyolu Khaladhavamanam Paramrishtamatyantato Drutya Gopya. So, anybody who has pure bhakti practically controls the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Supreme Personality of Godhead who is Param Brahma, you know, in the purports to the 13th, 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a very famous, beautiful verse that is quoted in those purports. It says, Shrutim apare, smritim itare, bharatam bhavabhita, anye bharatam bhavabhita, aham iha nandam vande, yasyalinde param brahma. So param brahma, param dhama pavitram paravam bhavan is playing as a little toddler in the yard of Nanda Maharaj. He's getting wet with the urine and the dung of the cows, and his clothes are getting colored with this, and he's catching hold of the calf's tail, and he's making all these beautiful pastimes. He's Param Brahma. He is the same person worshipped by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, all the demigods, all the great devotees in Vaikuntha, and he's playing around. So actually, Bhakti is that powerful that it elevates the soul. Even though he's a simple jiva, Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanadana, but he becomes Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, and then he Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. It's a very powerful thing. So Krishna checks in with the devotee periodically. Do you want this? Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. And in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj says that he wants liberation. Now, in this particular context, Prahlad Maharaj is not asking for any old kind of liberation. He's asking specifically from liberation from materialistic life. What is materialistic life? It means, materialistic life in general means Atmendriya Trupti. Whatever I want for my own sense gratification is materialistic. And Krishnendriya Priti Vancha Dhare Prem Nam. So, in essence, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, I don't want to satisfy my senses if it means not satisfying yours. So he wants to satisfy Krishna's senses. Anything less than Prema Bhakti, in other words, is actually material life. You know, I may be putting on a kurta and a dhoti, and I may be putting on tilak and kantimala and practicing and trying to chant Hare Krishna and so on and so forth. But anything less than Prema Bhakti, if I have not gotten to that point, well, especially for me, I have not even reached the point of Anartha Nivritti. But if anybody has reached any further points of Bhakti, then one is to note Prahlad Maharaj's purport here, which is, if I have not reached Prema Bhakti, then, you know, Satyavata Muni is also praying for the same thing. Tatha Prema Bhaktim Swakam me prayacha. So, Prahlad has taken shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. So, what blessings was Lord Nrsimhadeva offering? There is a very interesting thing here happening in this particular section. First of all, he offers him anything. Nrsimhadeva has a blank check in front of him, and he says, you write your own amount. And this is Nrsimhadeva's check. So it's not some ordinary bank. You know, you can write a check big enough that will break the bank, but you can never write a check big enough that will break Nrsimhadeva's bank, except if you're a gopi. But let's face it, is extremely, extremely rare. But Nrsimhadev is actually giving Prahlad Maharaj a hint of reality, and he's actually telling his devotee what you should ask for. In the previous verses, if we read it carefully, in the verses 52 and 53 of the previous chapter 9, where he says, in 52 and 53, he's saying, Kamapurosmyaham Naram. He says, it is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings, and therefore you may ask me ask from me any benediction that you desire to be fulfilled. So the whole material world is also a pastime of the Lord. It's a dream of Mahavishnu, where we are dreaming that we are here and we have all these different material desires to lord it over this material world and be number one and get ahead and drive the fastest bike and whatever it is that our desires are. We have these, and they're all pastimes of Lord Vishnu to fulfill all of those desires as much as you want. Fulfill it. Whatever you want. Manglo, jo mangna hai. Right? So he's writing a blank check. But like a very careful teacher, a teacher, when the child is on the stage and the child is performing, the teacher is in the pit down there prompting the child to do the right things, isn't it? So teacher is always there, constantly in the wings or in the pit somewhere, prompting to do the right thing. So he is saying this. In this 53, verse number 53, he is saying, Drishtva mam punarjantur atmanam taptumarhati. No. So there is saying, my dear Prahlad, he gives a blessing, may you live a long life, etc. One cannot appreciate or understand me without pleasing me, but one who has seen or pleased me has nothing more for which to lament for his own satisfaction. In other words, before he gives this blessing and say, ask whatever you want, he's saying, by the way, you've already seen me, so you have no real thing to ask for. He's giving the hint to Prahlad Maharaj what to ask for this. So, to the pure devotee, such as Prahlad Maharaj, one of the Mahajans, Nrsimhadeva is prompting personally and he's saying, okay, this is what you should ask for. Don't ask for anything because you already have everything. Ichhapidanam nija pada pallavam. So, this famous verse from the 5th canto, Satyam dishati arthitam arthito nrinam. You can approach the Lord for anything you like. No problem. Right? You can approach the Lord for anything you like. But even if you approach the Lord for something material, He will give it to you in such a way with a twist. There are so many devotees with material desires who have come into the Krishna consciousness movement. Okay, you're seeing an example here. But He gives it with a twist in such a way that you will never ask for anything material again from the Lord. It happens like that. But that doesn't happen when you ask for things from the demigods. You get distracted in all of the opulences that you get. Satyam dishati arthitam arthito nrinam naivarthado yat punararthita yataha swayam vidatte bhajatam anichhatam ichhapidanam nijapada pallavam. So, Prahlad Maharaj has the ichha to please the lotus feet of the Lord, but others like me may not have such a desire. But anichhatam, even if it's anichhatam, He will give us whatever is needed. Okay, so specifically, Srila Prabhupada mentions lusty desires, and lust comes in all different kinds of forms, and the key of it is actually sex desire, and sex desire itself also manifests in different forms. So my Guru Mata, for example, pointed out to me that the desire to be prominent in the society of devotees, the desire to be in the front, and and recently I heard a class by wonderful brahmachari in Hyderabad, and he was saying that the difference between the the eagerness and the difference between the desire to be prominent is invisible except to the person who has that. They might come in the front because they're very eager to participate in the kirtan or listen to the class, or they may come in the front because and especially in the Lilamrita, the temple president of ISKCON Paris was mentioning how he felt like he was being very proud coming in front of the room and sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, he felt like Srila Prabhupada completely ignored him and taught him a good lesson that you are not very prominent, etc. But so, yan maithunadi grihamedi sukhamitucham kanduyanena. If you have some certain diseases, and I have experienced this personally, if you have certain bodily diseases, your palms will start itching in a certain way. Kanduyanena karayoreva dukkha dukkham. And you can scratch the itch. Kanduyanena karayoreva dukkha dukkham. Trippantineha kripana dukkha bhajam. In this particular case, there was a disease, but satisfying material desires never actually satisfies us. Tripyantineha kripana bahu dukkha bhajam. It only creates bahu dukkha. Dukkha after dukkha. Dukkha bhajam. Kandutijam manasijam vishaheta dhiraha. One has to somehow or the other tolerate this itch. Atma Tattva Prabhu, who is one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, very beautiful speaker and very deep realizations. He was talking about Prabhupada memories, and he was talking about when he was sitting one day with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was talking about this sex desire, and he was saying that if you scratch too much, there will be blood. And I cannot say it like Tattva Prabhu says it, but so much prominence on that blood, on that thing. So all kinds of desires ultimately lead to loss of our life eventually, So, Acharyas advise us, even the Srimad Bhagavatam advises us. The Srimad Bhagavatam is taking us to a journey of all the different heavenly realms and all the different planetary systems, etc., and giving us, instructions, how you should worship this demigod if you want this, you worship that demigod if you want that, worship that demigod if you want this, go here if you want this. It's a fact, if you want to make money on the stock market, better be on Dalal Street. What are you doing in Pune, right? If you want to design rockets, go to wherever Abdul Kalam has set up his systems, his organizations, etc. But in the end, the Bhagavatam says, Akama sarva kamova moksha kamo daradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So it's not that just because you're worshipping Krishna, your other desires won't get satisfied. As we experience on the life of Gopa Kumar, he got everything. Dhruva Maharaj got a planet that doesn't ever get vanquished. Right? So he's sitting in the border, like he's sitting in the spiritual realm, even though technically his desire was material. Because he saw the Lord, he got the material desire transformed into a spiritual blessing. So Krishna can do anything. So we don't have to worry about it. Now, we can think about how this applies to all of us here, right? Especially how it applies to me here. Okay, so this prayer, right? Saktum kameshu tairvarai tat sanga bhito nirvinno mumukshustvam upashritaha. This part of it is a prayer for the rest of us who are seeing Radha Vrindavan Chandra but not really seeing Radha Vrindavan Chandra. It's such a misfortune that I'm seeing Radha Vrindavan Chandra but not seeing Radha Vrindavan Chandra. It's such a thing. So for someone like that, we have to understand that opulence is there everywhere. Opulence, everyone has some opulence. Even the tiniest insect has a particular kind of opulence that human beings don't have. The birds have a certain kind of opulence. The brahmacharis have the opulence, like they have different kinds of opulences. I mean, in the worst case, many brahmacharis have beautiful shikhas, that when they are dancing in kirtan, they jump around very nicely. It's very attractive. That's an opulence, But they have the opulence of renunciation, they have the opulence of knowledge, they have the opulence of association that most grihasthas can only dream of. When I come into our India temples and I experience the association of the devotees, one understands that these brahmacharis are really sense gratifiers. Not really, but but they have the opulence of association, which is very, very extremely rare in this world. And especially if you're anywhere in the corporate world and you have to sit through all these board meetings with people who are, you say, okay, this is my karma, and so on. But otherwise, we are all ISKCON Prabhuchis, right? And Matajis, and like we have all this different kinds of respect that is given to us in society when we go around. Even especially when we are in our temples, especially if you're a guest of any temple, then no, it's, you have all kinds of things. We may think that I must be something special, right? But Saktam kameshu tairvarai tatsanga bhito nirvinno. Always we should think about it and saying that all of this opulence, where is it coming from? It's coming from my relationship with my Guru Maharaj. It's coming from my relationship with my devotees. Coming from my relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So they are really giving us those respect because we are connected to the disciplic succession in that way. Right? But there are other kinds of opulence. We have power. If we are a leader or a manager, then we have power over someone's life practically, what service they are going to do, right? Where we're going to send them. It's a very heady thing if we are not careful about the fact that we are actually dealing with devotees' lives here, right? We have so many comforts, right? Like if you look at the early followers of Srila Prabhupada, they had nothing. But what austerity is there in NVCC, right? What austerity is there? Even the worst of the guest rooms is like a palace. So there is no austerity really for us. We have fame, we have recognition, YouTube channels, like thousands of followers, like people, writing, doing all kinds of things. All we have to do is go and stand on the street with the Bhagavad Gita And Srila Prabhupada and his followers have done so much that people just gravitate towards the Bhagavad Gita. Like you just be driving a bike somewhere, you didn't even spot the person coming and asking you, giving you thousands of rupees in donations. Like what? Where is this coming from? It's some kind of opulence, right? So one may ask, oh, Prabhuji, so should we reject all of this opulence? Should we, but Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was the perfect example. He used cars, he used to dress in expensive woolen coats, right? He had built big temples like the Bagh Bazaar temple, the Gaudiya Math. He was doing big things back in the day. And he understood the importance of using this opulence in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada says, what shall we do? Shall we sit down under a tree like the Goswamis? Nobody will come. The NVCC is constructed because especially Indians are attracted to opulence. And they will not come if you make a small center somewhere, they will not come. But thousands and thousands of people will come because it's a big, bhavya mandir hai. It's there. If you compare the number of people who are going to a Radha Kunjabihari temple compared to people who come to, especially visitors from out of town, etc., you will see that opulence attracts the people to Krishna. So that's why we use the opulence, right? So my Guru Maharaj, Sankarshan Prabhu, was once criticized by one man for using a MacBook Pro, right? He said, oh, what is this sadhu, using a MacBook Pro that costs lakhs of rupees or whatever the cost was. But he doesn't understand that this gentleman spends 12 hours a day answering emails all over the world, wherever he's on. He's on a plane, intercontinental flight, he's constantly replying to emails, people's questions, trying to answer. I was among those people who was writing emails and asking these kinds of questions. So that MacBook Pro is not an opulence for himself, it's meant as a reliable service for Krishna, right? So we don't reject opulence, but we use it for Krishna, especially if it's tangible opulence, money, power, position, those kinds of things, fame. It's very tangible. We use it for the sake of Krishna. So for example, if it's intangible opulence, like, some certain opulences are intangible, like people feel certain kind of respect towards somebody who's in the Krishna consciousness movement and has been around. You don't have to do much, by the way. You just have to stick around for 20 years and immediately you're like a celebrity of some kind, right? So just stick around and you will see what happens, in terms of opulence that comes. In my personal case, right, people say it was just advertised that I'm a CTO. A lot of times people come attend these programs and classes because they're aspiring, like they're taking courses in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and they're looking for an entry-level role, and they're like, oh, this CTO fellow is talking about Bhagavad Gita. Let me see what he's talking about, right? What does he look like? And he doesn't look like a CTO. And what is a CTO supposed to look like? I don't know. Maybe not a shaved head. I don't know. But anyways, it's fashionable now to have a shaved head. So, so they come and they hear, and then we try our best, to say, okay, can you, please read this book, because this is what has helped me to become really successful in life. Now they think success means becoming a CTO, but I think success means, approaching the devotees and trying to learn something about devotional service. Now I am saying something, they are hearing something. That's okay, but they are taking the message, a little bit. So we try to get them to chant Hare Krishna. We give sessions like stress management, time management, and we're talking about all these things related to chanting Hare Krishna. We're encouraging to offer some seva when you sponsor some books. He said distributing alone, but there are many people who are helping to distribute these books. So another thing that we have to remember is that we are jivas. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. That is one aspect. Like everybody is going to pass through this life, and kaumaram yavana will come, and then jara also will come, beginning to experience those things. But the opulences also will come and go. Like I'm not going to remain a person who can remember all my shlokas on my deathbed. I'm not going to remain the person who dances energetically from the front of the temple room to the back of the temple room forever. Okay, my opulent shikha also is not going to remain, right? Nothing is going to remain. This opulence, we're just passing through these opulences. So it's like, we're like the air passing through various things, and it's not going to remain. So if we have somehow or the other used our opulence while we had it, to engage in the service of Krishna, then that is our credit, because we are not going to take it with us. Nothing is going to stay. Big leaders have come, big leaders have gone, right? And Govind Prabhu says, don't try to remain prominent, because what to speak of you, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not remain prominent. Like, who remembers what he asked in the class, who remember what Hamsa Avatar did? And like, he drew a blank. We looked it up afterwards, but who remembers what Hamsa Avatar did? Like, who remembers what the Hayagriva Avatar did? What his specific pastimes were, right? We don't remember, right? So even the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world, people don't remember his opulences, what to speak of us, right? So, anyways, this opulence will come and opulence will go. And our goal is to remain attached to the fact that we have some service, to have some kind of service. Like, I was looking at the boys, who were very organized, picking up the tulsi, picking up those the stand that was used for tulsi, and looking at them. And I was saying how fortunate these boys are, right? Because they have some service, some seva. And Radhanath Maharaj says in his classes, like, in the beginning, when we come to the temple community, it's a big community. So when somebody enters to the door, we're all anonymous, right? Unless I was introduced, I'm also anonymous. But we remain anonymous. And at a certain point, some devotee, some brahmachari or some devotee in the temple notices that this person is coming regularly. And then they say, can you do this? And they say, your service is to move this television from here to there at this time every day. Can you do it? And then the devotee feels very, very happy that they are part of it. Like, we get some service. And then the service, maybe the responsibility increases, and maybe they become a temple commander. Like, these things can happen. But then Radhanath Maharaj gives a very important lesson, and he says, first they're a nobody, then they become a das, and then from das they become a Prabhuji, and then they try to compete against Mahaprabhu, and then they're out the door. So those that we see in the Krishna consciousness movement, despite all the opulence that they have, right? They have the opulence of power, they have the opulence of all facilities that they can possibly want, right? To serve Krishna. They have fame, they have everything. They have money at their disposal. But those who are still here, those are the people that you can say, these are the devotees who have not become attached to that opulence. They will go and serve in some tiny little village center with equal enthusiasm, no problem. But the devotees who have come and somehow or the other fallen apart, they are the persons who may have potentially misused their opulences. And even if it is subtle, like, nobody knows what I'm doing, right? My Guru Maharaj gives the example of, it's Nirjala Ekadashi, and a person is making a big show of fasting Nirjala, and then he goes to the river to take a bath, and when he's inside, gulp. Who has seen him drinking water? But Krishna has seen. So, like that, we have to be careful about it. And that's what I could offer for this. Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi ki jai, Shri Gaurnitaya ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there are any reflections, comments, questions, corrections, happy to. Yes, Prabhu. One at a time. One at a time, Prabhu. So, distributing Bhagavad Gitas in India is like eating prasad, taking prasad. It's like very, very easy. So I'm cheating now, coming to India more and more often, so I can distribute more Bhagavad Gitas. But in the West, it takes about 20-25 minutes to convince somebody to take one small book. So if you think about it, marathon month is in December, it's minus 20 degrees Celsius. Nobody wants to talk to you. The rare person who wants to talk to you may have their own ideas. They want to talk to you just like I wanted to talk to that brahmachari when I took the Bhagavad Gita, because they feel like they have something to give instead of something might be there in this that I can receive. So it's difficult. But devotees have made very wonderful arrangements for us to distribute Bhagavad Gitas, even if we are not capable of distributing them ourselves. So for example, I may be a grahastha, and I may be working very difficult schedules, jobs, and I can do one thing. I can take the pressure away from the brahmachari who is distributing books on the street by offering Shastradan donations. So that the brahmachari is still instructed to collect a donation, or the devotee who is distributing books on the street still instructed to collect a donation, not because we need any money. Look at our temple. I mean, we don't need money. Really, money is coming. Krishna is giving. Don't tell that to the fundraisers. But we can contribute in any way. So, for example, somebody can give a donation. Somebody can help. Maybe they are young. They don't have money to give. And they also cannot go out or whatever, or they cannot distribute books because maybe they are not able to convince somebody. They're not yet fully trained in the art of book distribution. Actually, book distribution is very easy. In 10 minutes, somebody can be trained to distribute a Bhagavad Gita. 10 minutes is all it takes. But some people have a nature of being very shy or something like that. Then they can help in logistics, like they can help to pack the books, they can help to load the vans, they can help in that way. Or they can help to count the Lakshmi that comes back after the donations. They can figure out how the accounting is working out. Okay, we're going to take this much from the donation, this much from the thing, like that. But I can tell you that trying to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books from 2008 or 2009 onwards, I don't remember exactly right now, has actually strengthened my own Krishna consciousness. Because you hear every single philosophy when you're out there on the street trying to distribute books to people. People come and tell me, how Prabhupada is wrong. And I said, oh, really? Tell me more about it. And once I have distributed book to somebody and said, okay, you know what? I really appreciated your time, but why don't you write about this? So take the book and find every single fault you can in it and write about it. Write about it. And they took the book just for that. Just like I took the book to find the faults. So I think there are many different ways. But Vaisheshika Prabhu says, who is the book distribution minister now for ISKCON, he says that book distribution is very high sadhana. When you're out there, some days will be very dry. Even if you're in India, it will be very dry. You're standing on the street corner there, and you're looking at everybody, and nobody's taking anything, and it's difficult. But just the effort to distribute books is a great, next morning you see how we chant after trying to distribute books, especially if you are unsuccessful. So book distribution is a very, very important seva, and every single person must try to help help in this way, regardless of our present position. And it doesn't matter, to Srila Prabhupada, it doesn't matter if I distribute 1 lakh Gitas or 1 Gita, or if I distribute 0 Gitas. The fact that I went out and made an effort, to him that was count. And that's the difference between spiritual life and material life, right? In material life, it's all success based. In spiritual life, it's all effort based. So, yeah. How many devotees are distributing books here? You raise your hands. Distributing books? Sometimes. That's good. No. Even if you have tried to distribute once, you can raise your hand. I'm not asking for full-time book distributors. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Anybody who has not tried it, please try it. Go out with somebody. If you saw someone who raised their hand, and if you did not raise your hand, just tap them on the shoulder and say, can you take me the next time you go out and show me how it's done? So it's a wonderful thing. Okay? So please do it. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
With enlightenment.
No, sorry, Prabhu. Sorry if I spoke out of turn.
I like the statement you made that, we have to, like Matra Sparshas to Konteya. Every one of us have to go through the opulences also, not just Sukha and Dukkha. So Arjuna was like that, Arjuna was involved, then opulences were taken away. Tathaiva Chanyanarlok. And it's very interesting to see that actually I was intending to go to hear from her guest Urmila Mataji, who also happens to come and join the movement by reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yesterday only I heard.
Is there more classes by her?
Yes.
Are there more classes by Mother
Yeah,
Urmila?
Sunday there will be class.
Sunday morning?
And tomorrow there is class in, I think, Shishi Radha Kunj Behari Mandir. So, but because of this dress, I could not go in the car. So, but I was so delighted to hear from another person who also read Bhagavad Gita and joined. It's very enlightening. Someone who has read Prabhupada books and joined the movement, like we have here Vamshodhan Prabhu. He just joined Bhagavad Gita. He read Bhagavad Gita and just moved in temple. No Sankalpa Spurti.
There's also Rohini Priya Prabhu. He also read Bhagavad Gita overnight.
Rohini Prabhu from Chowpatty.
Yes.
Oh.
Overnight. Continuously. Without stopping.
Same like you and Mataji, I think. Mataji also said
It's
something similar.
else. Yeah, it took me many, many years.
So such, I've seen that such people are very powerful who do that. So thank you for that. My question is, there is a similar verse which Lord gives darshan to the demigods in 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he is saying something similar. And they also got darshan of Lord. They know. And he is saying that, Kim durapam mai prite tathapi bhudarshaba maye kanta matirnanyat manto no anchati tattvavit. O best of the intelligent demigods, although it is true that nothing is difficult for one to obtain when I am pleased with him, a pure devotee whose mind is exclusively fixed upon me does not ask me for anything but opportunity to engage in devotional service. So Lord is saying to them, and then he is chastising them to be, you are fools, but I am a good this thing. So we see that in even Daksha, Lord says, I am pleased with you. Here also he says, I am pleased with you. And then he chastising them. So my question is, Prabhu, this is all, as you said so many times, that pure devotion. So how to recognize and try to develop desire to give up this mixed devotion? And why to give up mixed devotion? Because mixed devotion also appears to be nice, as you said. Everything is there, just continue with mixed devotion. What's the problem?
Yeah.
So can you please help? Because so many desires are there.
Yeah, same. Mixed devotion is a very slow journey, very slow path to perfection. So Indra, Chandra, all of these devotees. So let's talk about trajectories. In the 2009 class that I heard by Giriraj Maharaj, which inspired me to get initiated, by the way, in Philadelphia, in front of Sri Radha Sharad Bihari, he was talking about the trajectory of a devotee, or trajectory of anybody. So he was saying that on Ram Navami day, he was saying that if I have a chance to do something today, right now, some service, Vaisheshika Prabhu also says that when he's trying to inspire people to give donations for book distribution. He says, if I have a chance to do something today, and if I don't do it, then it is not that I will not get another chance ever. Not like that. It's not like that. Giriraj Maharaj also said like this. Not like that. But my trajectory will be different. So my trajectory was going to be like this, parabolic, in this particular thing. It's going to be like this, and then another chance might come. And then when I'm on the parabola going up to perfection, for example, then I have to stay on that curve, on that quadratic curve, in order to keep going up. At any time, I can shift myself to be a linear and lose my momentum or lose my trajectory. I might get distracted by something, for example. Right? So it's not that I won't make it, it's that I will get kicked a few more times. So if I don't make it right now, like Indra gets kicked, he's a very exalted person. He's seeing Krishna face to face. Like I cannot compare to Indra in terms of his purity. Like he sees Indra face to face. So by understanding that Indra is seeing the Lord and still not losing his material desires, means it proves the ye yatha mam prapadyate tam tatha bhajamyam. So to Indra, Krishna appears as an order supplier. Bring me my mother's earrings, please. Can you please do that? So Gondavlekar Maharaj, who is one of the great saints in Maharashtra, he tells the story of a lakur todia, a woodcutter, who once, I won't get in the full story, we are out of time, but he tells the story of a woodcutter who happens to serve a king who fell off from his horse and who was about to be bitten by a snake, and in the forest, some animal would have eaten him. So he would not have survived after falling from his horse and becoming unconscious. But he brings him to his house and serves him. The king does not disclose that he is the king. But you can see that he is a very effulgent personality, even though he is in his jungle clothes. Right? Not in his palace clothes. So then they have a conference at home. And because the king sends an emissary and says, you have been invited to attend court on such and such a day. Darbar, come to the Darbar. And then he says, oh, it must be the king that I saved that day. What should I ask from him? And then the wife says, from my marriage, the only jewelry I have is whatever my father gave me, right? So you ask him for some jewelry for your wife. That's what she said. And the son said, we are in this forest does not belong to us. The forest belongs to the king. And we are stealing his wood on a daily basis. So maybe we will get punished. So tell him that please ask him for a license to cut wood in the forest. Give us a license to cut wood in this forest of yours. So and then the man, the woodcutter, asked his uncle, who was very wise, and he says, don't ask for any of this stuff. You tell the king, my dear sir, whatever you think I did for you, whatever that is worth to you, you please do whatever you want accordingly. I'm not going to ask you for it. I'm not going to name a price. Right? Donor, like good fundraisers also know that. They don't go and name a price in front of a very rich person who is willing to give a donation. They say, see what you can do. See what you can do. And then they might give 2 crores. And you are going there to ask for 20 lakhs or 5 lakhs or whatever. Right? So like that. So this Lakurtodia did the same thing. Right? He did the woodcutter did the same thing. Whatever you feel I did for you, whatever you feel like giving, you give according to your own desire, like that. So and then the king did everything that the son had asked for, that the wife had asked for, and he made sure that the son doesn't have to remain a woodcutter anymore, because he gave him an education and brought him into his court. Right? So he became one of the ministers of the king, his son. The woodcutter's son became a minister instead of remaining the son of a woodcutter and becoming a woodcutter himself afterwards. So when we approach, Srila Prabhupada gave us this prayer. He's saying, you tell them the situation and don't ask for a specific resolution. You ask for, see what needs to be done here and help me to understand what you want to be done here. Many devotees have experience like that. Bhaktimarga Swami, when he's doing his dramas, you have seen his dramas. So those dramas don't come together by themselves. It takes a lot of hard work. But sometimes the actors don't show up, Somebody is supposed to play Ram in a drama and he doesn't show up on the 3 days before the performance, before the Mayapur festival or whatever. And what is he supposed to do? He sits down, Maharaj sits down, he takes out his beads and let me see what Krishna wants me to do. And then he promotes Sugriv to Ram in the drama. Because Sugriv was there in every practice. He knows what Ramchandra is supposed to do in the drama. So then it's a very short journey for him to become, and then somebody else becomes Sugriv. One of the Vanas or somebody like that. I have experienced this with many devotees. Let us see what Krishna wants. When I was on book distribution, we have a particular spot and suddenly somebody comes and yells at us and kicks us out of that spot. The Sankirtan leader says, wait, let me see what Krishna wants us to do. And then we find another spot and we do more books than we ever did in the other spot. Or we were supposed to stand outside, we got kicked out of that spot in the winter, and then one storekeeper says, come and set up stall in my supermarket here. Yes, stand inside while you're standing outside. And now everybody is comfortable because they are warm, and now we can distribute sets instead of distributing one Gita or one small book somehow with great difficulty for a person who's interested. So these things happen like that. So the 2 points here is, one, see our trajectory and see what our trajectory was and what it is right now. And Mother Lakshmimani, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, says that whatever appears like pure devotional service to me today will appear like sense gratification tomorrow. And if that is not happening, then that means I'm coasting. If I'm not under pressure that I have not completed my rounds yet, we are supposed to chant a minimum of 16 rounds. After a certain point, it becomes very easy to chant 16 rounds. Let's face it, it becomes very easy. We breeze through the 16 rounds and then I can do any damn thing, right? According to what Srila Prabhupada said. No, but then put myself under more pressure. Increase my minimum rounds. Sometimes fasting for Ekadashi becomes easy. Then what else can I do on that day? Right? What else can I do? What else can I do? My Guru Maharaj says, don't become complacent in devotional service ever. And if you become complacent, if you take it casually, then he uses the term casual means casualty. He uses this all the time. He reminds me all the time. Sometimes he calls me and says, he was yelling at me some time ago and he says, "Why are you not a pure devotee yet?" And I'm like, what do you do when your Guru Maharaj asks you that question? But you can see that is the desire of our spiritual master, that they really, 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 really intensely want us all to become pure devotees. And if we have any love for our Guru Maharaj or for Srila Prabhupada, then we know that he's not happy when I become complacent. He wants me to push all the time. Push yourself as much as you can. And at a certain point, we may not be able to push ourselves physically. Then what are you going to do? So it becomes more and more difficult. At a certain point, I may not be able to get out of my bed. I may not be able to move the beads with my... What am I going to do at that time? I don't have to worry about it right now. But gradually, these situations will come where the things that were easy for me may become difficult. And if they remain easy, then I'm not trying hard enough. So that's the... you are trying hard enough and you have taken the right path compared to me. When I got that book from the Brahmachari in Mumbai, I was thinking, is Joker ko main sikhaunga? That's what I was thinking. I will teach this poor fool who has brainwashed him, shaved his head and put him in saffron clothes and made him stand here with these books. What is he getting for all this? I was thinking like that. But I'm very inspired to see devotees who have dedicated themselves to Krishna consciousness at a very young age, because they have done the right thing. And the rest of us need to follow in their footsteps. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo taanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anandakoti Vaishnavrinda ki. You're singing now? Okay, bro. What appears like your devotional service appears like self-gratification. And if it doesn't, then you haven't tried much. She's amazing. She's in Ottawa, 4 hours from Toronto.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, yes. Marathi Kannadi. So we'll sing Damodarastakam, the 8 verses composed by Satyavrati Muni. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Bolo Namamishwaram. Yashodabhiyolukhaladhavamanam paramrishtam atyantato drutya gopya. Rudantam muhurnetra yugmam mrujantam कराम्भोजयुग्मेन सातङ्कनेत्रम् मुहुश्वासकम्पाद्रिरेखाङ्ककण्ठ स्थितग्रैवं दामोदरं भक्तिबद्धम् इति दृक्स्वलीलाभेरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्तम् आख्यापयन्तम् तदीशितज्ञेषु भक्तैर्जितत्वम् पुनः प्रेम तस्तं शतावृत्ति वन्दे वरं देव मोक्षं न मोक्षावधिं वा न चान्यं वृणेऽहं वरेशादपीह इदं देवपूर्णाथ गोपालबालं सदा मे मनस्याविरास्तां किमन्यै इदं ते मुखाम्भोजम् अत्यन्तनीलैः वृतं कुन्तलैः स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मुहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ताधरं मे मनस्याविरास्तामालं लक्षलाभैः नमो देव दामोदरानन्द विष्णो प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजालाब्धिमग्नम् कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्यातिदीनं बतानु ग्रहाणेश मामाद्यं वेद्यक्षिदृश्यः कुबेरात्मजौ बद्धमूर्त्यैव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकाम्ये प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्रहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह नमस्तेस्तु दाम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोदरायाथ विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीय प्रियायै नमो नन्दलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले भ्राजमानम् यशोदाभियोलुखलाधावमानं परामृष्टमात्यन्ततो धृत्यगोप्या हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,